Good afternoon. You're watching Business World Live here on One News. I'm Jes Delos Santos. We kick off our broadcast with the Banco Central holding rates steady once again in continuous support of the country's economic recovery. The Monetary Board has maintained its overnight reverse repurchase rate at a historic low of 2%. The overnight deposit rate was kept at 1.5%, while the lending rate remained steady at 2.5%. The move was widely expected, with 20 economists polled by Businessworld unanimously expecting the BSP to keep rates unchanged. The BSP rates serve as benchmark for banks for the pricing of their loans. Meanwhile, the central bank has revised its 2021 inflation forecast slightly downward from 4.4% to 4.3%. Okay, ahead of that central bank decision, investors took profit, now knocking down shares by 0.7% to 7,299. That move by the BSP, again, largely expected to buoy demand as restrictions are relaxed, policymakers staying pat. That's amid energy fueled inflation. This as they see prices lowering to midpoint of the 2 to 4% target next year. Now, speaking of inflation, its on and off movement continues to be something that investors are keeping close tabs on, at least according to Rastin Mercado of China Bank Securities, especially with the lack of positive catalysts here. He says higher vaccination rates may actually help tame inflation. So it would be interesting to see how prices will move in the next months leading to 2022. The country, again, just rolled out booster shots for healthcare workers. The general population expected to follow suit as early as January. Now, majority of stocks retreated today, with only six blue chips here ending the day in the green. Strong outing here from Bloomberg, as you can see right here. Tourism stocks actively traded after Cebu Air said that travel is seeing signs of picking up, especially as mobility curbs are easing. Scenario as well for other stocks expected to benefit from the easing of restrictions. You have the likes of Jollibee and Ayala Land also ending the day in the green. Jollibee up 1.8%. Ayala Land likewise edging higher by 1.4%. On the losing edge, however, is Converge, the day's worst performer. It's down 3 days in a row, sliding the most in 4 weeks today, shedding 5%. Now, Javet and Talco of all stocks is saying that's likely due to profit taking as fundamentals seem intact, especially with earnings jumping and prospects remaining bright for the internet provider. Now, Manny Cruz of Papa Security says investors are cashing in as it's still one of the top performers. He says Converge is in need of a new catalyst, and while the market is still assessing the profitability of its submarine cable, again, Converge down to 32 pesos and 30 centavos a piece, but remains the bellwether's best performer year to date, rising 117% so far this year. Here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. The country's biggest business group is urging the government to fully open the economy and assist businesses in creating more jobs in order to fast track recovery. These are part of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or PCCI's 10-point proposal that they plan to submit to President Duterte. The group wants the government to further open the economy now, even before herd immunity is attained, to revive pandemic hit businesses before the economy plunges back into a deep recession. PCCI President Benedicto Yuhico is hopeful that the government will heed the business sector's call. Metro Manila is under a more relaxed alert level 2, and Finance Chief Sonny Dominguez expects the government to ease restrictions to alert level 1 by the start of 2022. But for the Octa Research Group, a downgrade to alert level 1 may happen sooner, as early as next month. In fact, Professor Guido David reports that the 7-day average of COVID-19 infections this week is at 1,600. That's 27% lower than the week prior. If the downtrend continues, David says average cases may go down to 1,000 by the end of the month and even to 500 by December. In NCR, the COVID-19 positivity rate has also decreased to 3%. Aside from the rising vaccination rate, Okta attributes these figures to improvements in the country's testing capacity. Despite these indicators, the vid warns the public that a sudden uptick in cases is still possible, citing recent outbreaks in Europe. Also making that push to ease to alert level 1 in NCR rather by December is presidential advisor for entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion, and we have him on the show this afternoon. Good afternoon, Sir Joey.
Good afternoon, Jes.
Okay, so if you take the data presented by Okta, as we reported earlier, it would seem really all indicators are pointing to further downtrend in infections and the possibility of further easing. But looking at public behavior, at least under alert level 2 here in NCR, would it be wise to relax further as the holiday season approaches?
Well, let's put it this way, Jess. Remember in August 8th, our group, Go Negosyo, together with some of the business organizations and joined in by the NCR mayors, called for an early lockdown upon the advice of Octa Research. No? We're actually partnered with Octa Research right now to help us have greater visibility as to how things look at, and whether cases are going up and going down. And on August 8th, we heeded their advice. The government actually were moving for GCQ, and they retracted that since they knew that we were pushing hard for this. And true enough, the cases even hit a high of 35 or almost 40,000 cases. And in October, as predicted, these cases started to go down. The objective of our group was to really save the fourth quarter. And that sacrifice, and people were criticizing us. In fact, one of the largest business organizations were not for it. But we said to save the fourth quarter, let's do this sacrifice. And it did. No? And that's why you see now cases going down because of that sacrifice done in August. So Okta Research feels that cases will continue to go down in this coming month, December. And I feel that there is enough time to really open up the economy further. We are on the ground. Okta is, watching things very seriously. And we call the attention of some of the business establishments, to comply with the restrictions on just allowing fully vaccinated customers in the restaurants, especially the spas, the salons, which have now are able to operate at a higher level of capacity. And I feel that we can really.
Yes, Sir Joey. All right. Sir Joey, just checking if you can still hear us. All right. It seems as though we're having technical difficulties here with trying to reach at least Sir Joey Concepcion. But again, like what he was saying earlier, he's pretty much, of course, in agreement and pushing for the easing of restrictions in NCR to alert level 1, citing, of course, what happened back in August, wherein they heeded the call of the Okta Research to further to at least intensify restrictions in the region during that period, and especially with increasing COVID infections. And now that we're seeing a downtrend in cases, is saying that it would be wise still to further ease restrictions by December. Now we already have again Sir Joey on the show. Sir Joey, just a quick check. You can hear us correctly?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear
Okay,
you.
good. Now, prior to you being caught, at least, you did mention the responsibility of businesses here, especially when admitting or entertaining customers. But again, especially when it comes to malls, one of the main contentions now is allowing minors. You even have President Duterte urging local governments to reconsider restricting unvaccinated minors. What's your take on that? And that, of course, is expected to hit businesses should we once again restrict the entry of minors.
Well, the 12 to 17 should be allowed because they're being vaccinated now. Those 11 years and below, well, that's something that's debatable. But I think the government should allow the minors, the younger 11 below, and maybe cut it off and avoid toddlers, because families want to spend Christmas together. And the malls is like our park. And provided that we maintain social distancing, wearing a face mask, and business establishments adhere to the principle of only allowing fully vaccinated customers inside this business establishment, then it should be relatively safe. No, and again, what I'm trying to say is that I think fully vaccinated families, okay, except the minors below 11 cannot get vaccinated now. But I think we should allow them to go out this Christmas and enjoy, Christmas as a family.
But again, that of course would give rise to fears, that might actually lead to another surge in infections.
Well, the Metro Manila mayors are supposed to decide on this. And if they
Mhm.
feel that those below 12 years old who are unable to take the vaccine, then that is their decision. We will support whatever they would approve. No?
Mhm.
What's important right now is at least allow the 12 to 17 to be able to visit the malls, even with one. I don't think everybody will be able to do two shots because Christmas is already there. But hopefully, at least allow them even with one shot, no, one
Mhm.
vaccine. So at least they would be able to spend some time with the families. And the level of course, those that are younger are less. I mean, with Delta, of course, it's a bit risky, but they're somehow more protected than us, no, seniors who uh,
Okay.
unvaccinated will really be a huge risk, no, and that's why the unvaccinated seniors should really not go out at all, no, to these
Mhm.
malls.
Okay, now another major development in our battle against COVID-19, the rollout of booster shots. What is the private sector's plan when it comes to that?
Well,
Especially even
we
since
have
the
asked.
goal is that for that to be available to the general public at least by January next year.
Well, for example, the Sinovac, those who took Sinovac early this year, they will need the booster shots, no? And I think this month we have been telling DOH to please allow those who have taken Sinovac. Some of our employees took Sinovac because AstraZeneca vaccines just arrived in July. Now, for the AstraZeneca, those who took AstraZeneca from the private sector, they will be needing the booster shots still about February, March next year. So there's no problem with that group. Likewise, with the Pfizer, Moderna, they would be needing it towards December, January. There would be some who will be needing it earlier, especially those who took it earlier these vaccines. But remember, the you may take your two doses, but if you forget to take the booster shots on time, then your level of protection will wane. No? And
Mhm.
this is why to have a strong vacuna bubble, the continuity of protection is very important.
Mhm.
The booster shots have to be given on time. Now, I was telling Secretary Duque that let's just open it up for all, no, whether A1 to A3. What we can do is open for the public, and the A1, A3 have priority lanes, no,
Mhm.
wherein they are given the moment they arrive in the vaccination centers, they have priority over those who are A3 and onward, no. So
Mhm.
I think what we have to try to do is speed up the vaccination because this is a race against COVID-19, no. Whoever
Mhm.
is able to, I mean, protection is very important, and vaccination, especially in Visayas and Mindanao, is a challenge with high vaccine hesitancy, and of course logistics issues. And now that we have so much vaccines on hand and arriving, we should mobilize faster. And I think that's why Secretary Galvez has this 3-day event to vaccinate
Mhm.
15 million people. No?
I guess more to the point now, is the private sector going to purchase additional vaccines for booster shots?
At this point, we don't need to buy vaccines because we have still vaccines arriving next year. On the case of AstraZeneca, which is about from the private sector, we were donating to the government. Secretary Galvez said, you don't need to donate anymore. We have enough. So these are 3 million doses that are being returned to us, which can be used as booster shots next year. In the same case, Moderna, there are enough private sector doses that are arriving in December. I think the full order will be arriving in December. So those Modernas can be used for children and also booster shots for those who will need it next year.
Okay, lastly now, before we let you go, another development, you have the FDA saying that Merck has already applied for EUA of molnupiravir, their anti-COVID pill. Is a private sector planning? What's the private sector's plan when it comes to the purchase of the anti-COVID bill?
I believe the government will make this purchase. I mean, if the private sector can have access on a tripartite agreement with the government on this, definitely we will support. In fact, we are trying to talk to Secretary Galvez on this matter. What he has agreed to is that the private sector can continue to import AstraZeneca, purchase AstraZeneca vaccines next year. We're looking at purchasing AstraZeneca vaccines towards June onward. No? That will be for the second booster shot. No? So the first booster shot is in the first part of the year, and by that time we will need to purchase again booster shots during the second part of the year. So he's agreed to a tripartite agreement for vaccines or
Mhm.
boosters, but for medicines such as the one of Pfizer, we still have to discuss that.
All right. Thank you very much again for your time this afternoon. Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And those are the biggest stories this trading day, November 18, 2021. Catch Business World live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jes Delos Santos. We are One Years. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.